Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayam Yuridayat Master Preshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. All right, so today is November 10th, 2024, and we'll be reading Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order, and we'll be reading chapter 24, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva, and we'll be doing verse 77. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about Gaura Kishor Das Babaji, because his disappearance day is tomorrow, and there's no Bhagavatam class tomorrow. So, let's see here. And nicely, this verse and the life of Gaura Kishor Das Babaji, they really go nicely together. So, perfect introduction. Okay, here we go. Vindate Purusho Mushmad Yad Yadichat Yasavtvaram Mad Gita Gitatsu Pritach Treyasame Valabat Vindate Purusho Musmad Yadichat Yasatvaram Magita Gitatsu Pritach Treyasame Kavalabat Vindate Purusho Musmad Yadichat Yasatvaram Magita Gitatsu Pritach Treyasame Kavalabat Vindate Purusho Musmad Yadichat Yasatvaram Magita Gitatsu Pritach Treyasame Kavalabat Vindate Purusho Musmad Yadichat Yasatvaram Magita Gitatsu Pritach Treyasame Kavalabat Vindate Purusho Musmad Yadichat Yasatvaram Magita Gitatsu Pritach Treyasame Kavalabat. All right, very nice. We actually had everybody chant this time. All right, word for word. Vindate achieves. Purusha, a devotee. Amushmat, from the personality of Godhead. Yat Yat, that which. Ichati, desires. Asat Param, being fixed. Madkita, sung by me. Gitat, by the song. Supritat, from the Lord who is very pleased. Shreyasam, of all benediction. Eka, one. Balabat, from the dearmost. Okay, translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the dearmost objective of all auspicious benedictions. A human being who sings this song sung by me can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee, being fixed in the Lord's devotional service, can acquire whatever he wants from the Supreme Lord. Please repeat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead
Is the dearmost objective of all auspicious benedictions. A human being who sings this song, sung by me, can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee, being fixed in the Lord's devotional service, can acquire whatever he wants from the Supreme Lord. Okay. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 6:22, Yam ladva chakram labam manyate nadikam tata. If one can attain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has nothing to aspire for, nor does he desire any other gain. When Dhruva Maharaj became perfect by austerity and saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, he was offered any kind of benediction he wanted. However, Dhruva replied that he did not want anything, for he was perfectly satisfied with the benediction of seeing the Lord. Except for the service of the Supreme Lord, whatever we want is called illusion, Maya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Jivera Svarupa Haya Krishnara Nitya Dasa. That's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 20:108. Every living entity is an eternal servant of the Lord. Therefore, when one engages in the service of the Lord, he realizes the highest perfection of life. A faithful servant can fulfill any desire by the grace of the Master, and one who engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord has nothing to aspire for separately. All his desires are fulfilled simply by engaging constantly in the Lord's loving service. Lord Shiva shows us that any devotee can be successful simply by chanting the prayers which he has recited. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagratatam Sahagana Raganatam Tam Sajivam Sadvadetam Savadutam Parajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padasa Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamatamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jakapate Gopesha Gopeka Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Stage. Okay, so this verse sung by Lord Shiva tells us if we're fixed in devotional service, we can get anything we want from the Supreme Lord, which kind of made me chuckle a little bit because it's sort of a little bit like a trick, right? Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain that there's nothing left to desire when you have pure devotional service. So, yeah, it's like a little bait and switch, like, oh yes, I'll give you anything for your pure devotional service. But by the time you get that pure devotional service, there's nothing else you want. And so some people might think like, oh yes, I'm going to strive for pure devotional service, then like Dhruva, I can get a kingdom greater than my grandfather's, whole universe to myself, and maybe some beautiful wives or something like that, or husbands, and it sounds like a good deal, right? Except for by the time you get it, you don't want it. You want to just serve the Lord. So sometimes people will call the Krishna conscious movement a cult, right? You've all heard that. I even have a sticker on my water bottle that's a little tongue-in-cheek about that. It says, I was lost, but now I'm in a cult. And it's got Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda there. But it's just meant in good fun, right? And people think this because sometimes they say, oh, you guys are zealots, you're just zealots. I remember when I first came, I was in a relationship, and I had brought them here, and they talked to Kirtaneshwara for, I don't know, maybe an hour or two. And when we got home, they said, well, do you think he could have said the name Krishna one more time? That's all he said. It's Krishna, Krishna. And the whole point of that is because that's what's satisfying, right? Is to talk about Krishna. I've also had people say, can't you talk about anything other than Krishna? Or can't you do anything that's not related to Krishna? One of the most common questions from like new people when they first come here and they like want to ask me just like, I don't know, I guess sort of personal questions. It's really the same question all the time. Like, can you go to a movie? I get that question a lot. Can you go to a movie? Well, yeah, I can go to a movie, but do I want to go to a movie? Probably not. Unless it's a movie about Krishna or maybe there's a devotee in the movie or something, And in fact, that happened one time. We were at a friend of Mother Sundamani's house, and she wanted to watch a movie, and she was like naming all these movies, and we were just kind of like, no, not really interested in any of them. And then she said, well, in this movie, there's a devotee, and they talk, briefly about, something Krishna related. And so, okay, yeah, let's watch that one. And so we were interested for that part only, and then we lost interest very quickly. So we never finished the movie. I don't even remember what movie it was. And we see this in other religions too. I remember growing up, people would always talk about Jesus freaks, right? You don't want to be a Jesus freak. And I remember thinking that was kind of mean to say about people that have a strong faith. But at the same time, I remember thinking like, oh gosh, maybe I don't want to be like that because it's obviously some kind of bad thing. But then as I thought about it some more, I thought, wait a minute, if these people, they believe Jesus is God, shouldn't you be freaky about that? I mean, shouldn't you be freaking out about that? If the whole purpose of your worship is to worship God who created everything, you should be freaking out about that in a good way. So I always kind of disliked that term. So the Srimad Bhagavatam says, and this is a pretty famous verse, in the first canto, the supreme occupation for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So that's why, that's part of why I don't want to go to a movie, why most devotees I know, we certainly could go see the latest Fast and Furious movie. What do they have, like 27 of them now? I don't know. I don't even think I've seen one of them, but I mean, we could do that, but I don't really think many of us want to do that. And that's because it's not satisfying to the self, right? Because in order to completely satisfy the self, we need to have devotional service that is unmotivated and uninterrupted. So real life, it's said that real life, our spiritual lives, that's our real life, right? And our real life is eternal and blissful and full of knowledge. But we're here in material life. And material life is temporary, it's miserable and full of illusion, right? So which one would you rather have? I mean, the spiritual life where we're full of bliss and knowledge and it's eternal, or this temporary life that's full of misery and illusion. It's not fulfilling in any way. Even if we think we're fulfilled for a little bit, eventually that wears off. It doesn't, I get a new pair of shoes or something. I'm satisfied for a little while, but eventually either I get tired of them or they get worn out, right? And then I'm no longer satisfied. Now I need to find a new pair of shoes. So Dhruva was mentioned in this purport, and Dhruva said, this is one of my favorite quotes from Dhruva. So this is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. When he was being blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva Maharaj said, "O my Lord, because I was seeking an opulent material position, I was performing severe types of penance and austerity. Now I have gotten you, who are very, very difficult for the great demigods, saintly persons, and kings to attain. But I was searching after a piece of glass, but instead have found a most valuable jewel. Therefore, I am so satisfied that I do not wish to ask any benediction from you." So we can see there, Dhruva, just from seeing the Lord face to face, he no longer wanted that great kingdom that he did all those austerities for, right? He did so many austerities, austerities that I certainly could never do. I mean, what was the last one? He was like breathing once every 12 days, I think. We're taking one breath every 12 days, or maybe it was 9 days. I mean, if I did that, I would die. The whole reason he was doing that was to get that kingdom that was greater than his grandfather's. But now he's seen the Lord face to face, and he no longer wants it because he's completely satisfied. So a lot of times people think, what they think is happiness is just cessation of misery, right? I'm just a little less miserable than I was 5 minutes ago. Therefore, now I'm happy, right? You can see this in its most gross form, like when people are taking intoxication, right? They're maybe they had a rough day at work and they're pretty miserable, and after work they go to the bar and they have a few beers, and suddenly they're enlivened, their mood is up. But then what happens? It wears off, and then they oftentimes feel worse than they started with, right? But they think for that brief time, oh, I'm happy. This alcohol is going to make me happy. But it doesn't. It's just making that misery a little bit less for a short period of time. Another example is like if someone's holding your head underwater, you're in the ocean, and someone's holding your head under the water, and you're miserable, you can't breathe, your lungs are burning, your ears are ringing, you're struggling, you probably have extreme anxiety thinking about, the only thing you can think about is getting that next breath. When they finally let you up and you breathe that air, oh man, does that feel good, right? To breathe that air and suddenly, wow, that feels great. Now I'm breathing again. That's sort of what happiness in the material world is like just breathing that air. You're not actually happy. It's just a cessation of that misery of lack of air, right? So Lord Shiva, he is the topmost Vaishnava. We know this. And he pleases the Supreme Lord. And we can also please the Supreme Lord by following his devotees. And there's so many examples of this. Like Dhruva, he followed Narada Muni, right? and ended up pleasing the Lord so much that he got to see him face to face and was offered any benediction, all because he followed the orders of his spiritual master, which was Narada Muni. Another example is Devahuti and Kapila, right? She's learning from her son Kapila, and she's able to please the Lord in that way, who is also her son. But and so this method is so powerful that we can perfect our lives by following a great devotee of someone who is following a great devotee, like Srila Prabhupada, right? And so, I follow the orders of my spiritual master, who's following the orders of his spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who's following the orders of his spiritual master, and so on. That's how the whole Parampara system works. So yesterday, Kirtan Yagya, he was talking a little bit about how you can be like a teacher or a guru for someone. If you're here for 1 year and someone's here for 6 months, well, you can be a teacher or a guru for them. Or you're here for 5 years and they're here for 4 years. You can help guide them. And what we really want to do is make what I've called a devotee sandwich. So we want to have, on one side, we have our senior devotee that we're taking instructions and knowledge from. And then they're the bread. They're one half of the bread. And then we're in the middle taking those instructions. And we're the cheese, or if you're vegan, you could be the tomato, right? So, and then the other bread is someone that is junior to you, and you're giving those instructions that you've learned to that junior person. So you make a little devotee sandwich, and that way we're always taking the knowledge from the proper source, and we're helping push it forward and spread it out, because that's what we want to do, right? We want to make everybody Krishna conscious. That's the goal, right? And is to go back to Godhead and bring as many as we can with us. So, or to serve Krishna in whatever way he wants us to. So, okay, that being said, let's talk a little bit about Gaura Kishor Dasa Babaji. So tomorrow is his disappearance day. And he's someone that really exemplifies what Srila Prabhupada was talking about in this purport. So let me just read this quote. So this is from the 6th canto, the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So, Gaura Kishor Dasa Babaji Maharaj, he really exemplifies this part of the Bhagavad Gita, because he was so renounced and so amazingly renounced. So he was born in 1838, and when he was 29 years old, after his wife passed away, he moved to Vrindavan, and he took initiation from Sri Bhagavat Dasa Babaji, who was a disciple of Jagannath Dasa Babaji. And he spent 30 years just performing bhajan under the trees, just 30 years doing that. And he chanted 200,000 names every day. So that's 128 rounds. How about you, Yamuna? Are you going to do that? That's a lot of rounds. If anybody can do some math, then we can find out how long that would take. I should have done that before the class, but I did not. So his favorite bhajan, I'm just going to read the translation to save you from me butchering the. Yeah. So okay. O Radhe, Radhe, where are you? O goddess of ecstatic love. O Radhe, Radhe, all glories to you. O Radhe, Radhe. O Radhe, Radhe, please show yourself to me and thereby maintain my life. Your most despicable fallen servant calls out to you. O Radhe, Radhe, O Radhe, O artful enjoyer of Vrindavan. O Radhe, Radhe, O Radhe, O enchantress of Kanu's mind. O Radhe, Radhe. O Radhe, O crest jewel of your 8 main girlfriends. O Radhe, Radhe, O Radhe. O delightful daughter of Maharaj Rishabhanu. O Radhe, Radhe. So that was his favorite bhajan. Yeah, very sweet. And so here's some different examples of how austere Gaura Kishor Das Babaji was. Everybody has heard this story where he used to chant in the lavatory, in the toilet, just so people would kind of leave him alone. And because he really didn't want to be around materialistic people at all. And, most people don't want to hang out in the bathroom longer than they have to. So especially, it sounds like it was some kind of like a public bathroom. And I certainly don't want to go hang out at the Circle K bathroom at all. And they keep it pretty clean nowadays, but in the past, it's been pretty bad. And so sometimes he would eat only mud. He would just eat only mud for long periods of time from the banks of the various holy rivers. And other times he would go begging and to, I think it was like 1 to 7 houses they would beg from, depending on what, they managed to get. And he would only eat cracked rice with dried pepper, kind of soaked in Ganges water. So it wasn't even like really cooked. It was just soaked in the Ganges water, and you would just eat that. I heard him mention that if a sadhu got, a nice donation of, say, some very opulent food, he should, or a nice sweet or something, he should feed it to a cow. He shouldn't eat it himself, right? He used discarded pots to cook in. He would just find like a discarded pot and he would clean it, and that's what he would make his stuff in. And he would drink from a thrown out clay drinking vessel. He would clothe himself in cloth that he would take from corpses. And in this way, he was not dependent on anybody for anything. So he didn't have to go with their whims in order to get his material needs met, because he was able to meet all his material needs by just using the refuse of society. So every Ekadasi he followed was a Nirjala Ekadasi. We do Nirjala Ekadasi once a year, and like most people don't do it. But he did it every single Ekadasi. No food, no water. He would pay respects to all the Rajavasis, because he believed they were personal associates of Radha and Krishna. This means not just the people, but the cows, the birds, the trees, the ants. He would pay respects to every living entity that he came across. And many people would try to serve him because he was kind of known as like this great sadhu. And so many people would come and try to serve him, or alternately, they would try to like get his blessings, for various kind of mundane materialistic projects. Some that were, decent, like offering free medical care or something like that, but still, it was sort of just too materialistic for him. But he would always refuse any service that people were trying to offer him. When he was staying in the lavatory, the officials, like the town officials, tried to build him a proper bhajan kutir, and he locked himself in the bathroom and said, no, I already have one. So I thought that was funny. And yeah, and he said that the association with materialistic people, it was worse than the smell of the stool in the lavatory. So, and he would come to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam from Bhaktivinoda Thakur a lot. And he only had one disciple, and that was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he only, I don't want to say he only did this, but he took him as a disciple at the urging of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he did that. While he was in Varshana, he would make a garland every day from Rajan and Kanu, which is Radha Krishna, the Radha Krishna deities there. And he did that every day when he was there. And so I found some kind of interesting, I titled this section Encounters with Materialistic People, but they're just like interesting little anecdotes of various interactions he's had with some people that I wanted to read. So once the aristocratic landholder of Kasima Bazar was organizing a conference of all the prominent Vaishnavas, and he approached Babaji Maharaj to request him to preside over this conference. He said, Babaji Maharaj, I'm organizing a conference of Vaishnavas, and everyone desires that you be the president of this assembly. Being merciful, please give Sukriti to us by accepting this entreaty, and I will take you there and bring you back in my own car. Babaji Maharaj asked him, for what purpose are you organizing this conference? What is the necessity of doing it? The man replied, it is for the preaching of Vaishnava Dharma, so people will hear talks describing Bhagavan and be inspired to take up bhajan. Then Babaji Maharaj said, all right, then you do one thing. First, you do bhajan and forget about others. Leave your home, wife, and children and come to me. I will furnish you with a pair of kopins. and then you will do bhajan. First, make your own life meaningful, and then worry about others. Otherwise, your conference will be only for your own self-aggrandizement, and there will be no benefit in it for others anyway. First, you should come to me and do bhajan for some time, then you should organize your conference. Hearing this strong answer from Babaji Maharaj, the man was rendered speechless and went away. So I don't think he expected that. He just wanted, to have him as a guest at the conference, maybe get his blessings. And he said, no, here, I will give you some kopins and you come. Leave everything behind. But the man was not able to fulfill that request. Another time, one man went to Babaji Maharaj and said, Babaji Maharaj, please be merciful to me. Please be merciful to me. And again, he said it, please be merciful to me. Babaji Maharaj became a little annoyed and said, you want mercy? Then here, take mercy. And he handed the man a pair of kopins. What is the purport of giving the man a pair of kopins? When a guru gives sannyas to someone, what does he give him? A pair of kopins and the mantra. Then that person will at once become renounced, leave all worldly attachments, and fully apply his body, mind, and words to the service of Krishna. If the guru gives this to someone, what greater mercy could there be? Here, take mercy. Hearing this from Babaji Maharaj, that man became frightened and ran away and never returned. So it's like, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. So you're asking for mercy, and he will give you the mercy, but so many of us are just not ready for that level of mercy just yet. Like sometimes when Mother Sundamini has an especially grueling chore to do, she might say, oh, I've got a lot of mercy for you. Or she might ask you, how much mercy do you want? And then you're kind of unsure. I don't know. Should I say I want a lot of mercy? I don't know. Okay. So then there's one more. On another occasion, a young boy from a wealthy family ran away from home and came to Babaji Maharaj. He said to Babaji Maharaj, I want to stay with you and just do bhajan. Babaji Maharaj did not reply, so the boy began staying with him. He would bring water for Babaji Maharaj and do other services for him also. And he began telling the people, I'm a disciple of Babaji Maharaj. But in reality, Babaji Maharaj had no disciples other than Prabhupada, and Prabhupada they're referring to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. This boy stayed with Babaji Maharaj for some time, but he didn't attain what he expected, so he thought, I should return to material life. Many people go to live in a moth, stay for 1 or 2 months, and then return to material life, get married, and become busy in household duties. Some men renounce life even after 10 or 20 years, but only because they desire to attain the same things as worldly people: wealth, women, and prestige. They apparently leave their homes to engage in bhajan, but they are really only interested in material gain. Feeling that he had attained nothing by staying with Babaji Maharaj, the boy left. And after about 2 weeks, he returned to Babaji Maharaj with a beautiful young girl from a wealthy family whom he had married. He offered pranam to Babaji Maharaj and said, Babaji Maharaj, I have entered the samsara, the material world. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written in his Gita Bali, Krishnara samsara karachadi, anchara, we should give up our offenses and perform bhajan as family men. Therefore, I have collected a Krishna Dasi. Please be merciful to her and to me also, so we can engage in bhajan and have a successful material life as well. Babaji Maharaj replied, you have done so well, I am so pleased. You have collected one Krishna Dasi? Then you should do one thing. You should offer puja to this Krishna Dasi every day. You should cook an offering for her and offer her pranams and some flowers, saying, you are a Krishna Dasi and very dear to Sri Krishna. But beware, don't try to enjoy her. Otherwise, everything will be destroyed for you and you will descend into hell. Beware, don't try to enjoy her. Hearing this, the boy was astonished and was rendered speechless. Frightened, he called his Krishna Dasi and quickly left. So again, he's not getting the answer he expected. And so what can we learn from his renouncement, his strong level of being renounced? And there's one other thing. So Gaura Kishor Das Babaji, he ended up leaving his body in 1915. And at that time, there was an argument between the advanced devotees in the area, and they were arguing basically over who could, take possession of his body. And I think I remember Jiro Prabhu saying this argument, most likely was rooted in the fact that, if they had his body and they made a samadhi, then, pilgrims would come and they could, make money from it. Yeah, money, exactly. And so there was just arguing over who was going to take possession of his body because of this reason. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his only disciple, came and said, okay, well, how about whoever of you has not lied with a woman in the last 24 hours, then you can take possession of his body. And all the men that were arguing, not one of them could say that. And so they all sort of slinked away, very ashamed. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was able to take care of his spiritual master. So in conclusion, I think the main takeaway that I had after reading and learning so much about Gaura Kishor Das Babaji, because a lot of this, I knew some details, but not so many. And so I actually got a link to really beautiful nectar all about him, different stories from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples that they heard their Maharaj tell. And so if anyone's interested in reading that, I can send you the link. Sureshwar Prabhu sent it to me last night. It was beautiful. So I haven't had time to finish it all, but what I did read was amazing. But the main thing that I was able to learn from this is exactly what Prabhupada was saying in this purport. When we're serving the Lord purely, we can be satisfied in any condition, whether we're in the toilet or we're, just eating mud. and we can be satisfied in that way if we're doing our pure devotional service. So with that, I will end here. If there's any comments or questions, and I see Uncle S. Prabhu has come in at the last minute.
I'm expecting, did you talk about that?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
You sent me that link on email.
Yeah.
It's hard on my phone, it's so small.
Sure, yeah, you can, I don't know if I have your email, I'll check, or you can text me your email or whatever, and, yeah,
I'll text it to you.
okay,
I think I gave you.
Yeah, I didn't get, I obviously didn't get to finish it last night, but what, I stayed up late reading a lot of it, it's beautiful, amazing stuff, yeah.
I don't have a question, but when you mentioned the devotee sandwich thing, it made me think of the domino effect. The standing domino cannot move forward without the contact of the previous one.
Yeah,
And then that goes on. So it's like the disciplic succession.
oh, that's great, that's a
Yeah.
great analogy,
So
yeah.
that's,
Yeah, the sampradaya, the domino effect, or the devotee sandwich. I was saying we should make a devotee sandwich where we have our senior devotee that we're taking instruction from. They're one part of the bread, and then there's you, who is either the cheese, or if you're a vegan, you can be the tomato, and you're taking instruction from that senior devotee. And then the other part of the bread is a junior devotee that you are giving instruction to. And so you're making a little devotee sandwich or a domino effect. Yeah.
And I thought it was very interesting that Gaura Kishor Das Babaji was illiterate, and
Yeah.
Bhakti Siddhanta was this great scholar, but he was so pure. And so Bhakti Vinod really wanted him to take from him.
Yeah, and that's something I heard in a lecture a couple of days ago, and they were talking about how people say, oh, you guys become Hare Krishnas, and then you just all become the same, you dress the same, you look the same, you talk the same. But really, that's not true. I mean, yes, we do a lot of things the same, and that's helpful for our bhakti, right? To do these things in these prescribed ways in order to increase our bhakti. But our individuality really comes out, especially as we progress. And in that way, we can see, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was such a great scholar, right? And like you said, but Gaura Kishor Das Babaji, he was illiterate, but yet both had such a major contribution to Vaishnavism, and so really we're all individuals, even though we're doing a lot of the same things, or we might dress in similar ways. That individuality is still there. And my personal opinion is, I feel like that individuality is actually clearer and more amplified in devotional service, because I think, in the material world, that individuality is kind of stifled by, like, oh, I'm a Phillies fan, or, oh, I really like rock music or whatever, and you're trying to conform in that way. Whereas when you're doing devotional service and you're sort of becoming purified, all those artificial impositions are taken off, and your true individuality is allowed to shine forward. So,
John, great class. Thank you so much.
All right, yeah, we'll end here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Did you stop the recording?